Welcome back to the Real Couchwives podcast, where we overanalyze all things Bravo.
We are back to recap Southern Charm episodes 6 and 7, which saw probably the most devastating episode that we've seen on the show thus far. And it was quickly followed by a bit of a mean girl situation. So we're going to get into that.
Yeah, but before season 13 of Real Housewives of Beverly Hills premiered, and we were both shockingly, surprisingly amazed by how good it was. So we want to go over our thoughts on the ladies so far.
Yes, let's break them down. We'll start with none other than Miss Erika Jayne, which to me, I feel like she came into the season of Beverly Hills thinking this was going to be her redemption season, but she's not able to do that because, as we've seen, she doesn't know how to show empathy.
Doesn't know how to redeem herself, unfortunately, and is struggling a little bit without her lapdog, Lisa Rinna, around anymore.
Yeah, I mean, getting a bit ahead of myself in the episode, but the scene with Erika talking to her therapist and literally saying, how do I show empathy? And then the therapist just gives her a description of the word empathy, and it's like she's never heard this before.
Never heard of it before. I'm so surprised. Well, and it's interesting too. I saw somebody's take online. I thought that was so genius, was saying like, it's interesting that Erika doesn't know the word or like the definition of empathy when she's been asking these ladies for the last 2 seasons to have empathy towards her, which I just thought was like such a like spot on nailing of the situation.
Oh my God, that is such a good point. She's like, please think about me. And then they're like, but could you also think about us? And she's like, what?
No, I don't know how to do that.
Like, even in the scene when the therapist says, like, you need to think about like how your actions feel for like other people, and then and then you see Erika like deep in thought, and she's like, other people, and she repeats it twice. Like, this is a groundbreaking thing that someone has just told her. Like, in her mind, how is this a good play? I don't understand, because she's obviously doing like, she obviously has a playbook that she's trying to run here.
Yes.
How is that the move?
I don't know. And it's also weird because if you think about like the fact that we've been saying like orphans, victims, like, like burn victims, like people that have been like impacted by Tom Girardi's crimes for like the last 2 seasons, and it's only now that she's like learning this concept. It's just very strange. I just don't understand how she thinks that she's going to win us over this season by like having this kind of like little therapy session display here.
Yeah, that's it. And even like when we're first introduced back to her, she says, last year I was really vicious, but I was also sticking up for myself. So it's like, I feel like she tries to start apologizing and then automatically goes back into the like, well, I was warranted to do that.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and even her apology to the woman is like the most robotic delivery of an apology that like, I don't know how she even got the tears out, because there's no emotion behind it.
And I can't help but wonder that this is all just for show, and all just because she wants to like rehabilitate her image enough for people to go buy her tickets for her Vegas show. Like,
well, yeah,
like, none of this is real.
Not only that, like, I almost get the sense that Bravo wants to rehabilitate her image as well. I think everyone is kind of hoping that now that Rinna's gone, they can just kind of be like, oh, like that was the problem, and this is a fresh start, and like we're all like hunky-dory, to quote Kathy. Which, like, I'm very glad Rinna's not there. Like, honestly, when they showed the flashbacks of Rinna, I was like getting like so riled up just in that. So like, yes, she had to go, but like that doesn't give Erika like a free pass, like, I don't know.
Yeah, but I do think it is interesting that we're gonna see the disillusionment of the I guess that's the word, of the Fox Force 5, and like how those relationships are already being tested between her, Kyle, and Dorit, who are like the remaining cast members from that group.
I'm definitely all for that, and I hope that like now that Erika doesn't have like Rinna like protecting her as much, like she'll have to actually put in a little bit more work. And like, I'm like, to be honest, the first season of Beverly Hills, sorry, not the first season, the last season of Beverly Hills was rough. Like, it was honestly so hard to watch. It wasn't fun. Like, we talked a lot about it. It was dark, it was mean, it was just like, it was too much. And they made a lot of excuses for a lot of bad behavior. So I don't want to go back to that. but at the same time, like, I feel like they're really just being like, now everyone's like, Erika is fine. Like, Tom was indicted. She wasn't on the indictment. Like, the end, walking away.
That's all good. Well, and even with the Kyle stuff, like, just the way that Kyle is, you know, glossing over the role that Erika and Rinna played in kind of like the way that her relationship with Kathy is right now is just very like indicative of kind of who Kyle is, right? Like, she doesn't want to blame anybody except for Sutton apparently and Kathy, who are the two people that are responsible for why her relationship is the way that it is right now with Kathy.
And she was so mean to Sutton the whole season. I'm honestly was so shocked why she's like, Sutton, like, why didn't you stand up for me?
Right? Why didn't you like help me out with that situation? It's just because you want to be able to go to parties. I thought that was an interesting little dig.
Yeah, it's like, as we've seen from what Sutton got in her settlement, that her divorce settlement that we'll talk about shortly, like, she doesn't need to be getting like invited to Kathy Hilton's parties. Like, she can do it on her own.
Yeah, 1,000,000%.
But yeah, actually, let's move on to Kyle, who is obviously going to be a really big part of the Beverly Hills plot line this season, much to, I'm sure, her like disappointment, because she always does a really good job.
I think the opposite. I think she's excited that this is going to be a big season for her.
Well, the reason I think that is just because I feel like she does a really good job of like keeping most of her own stuff out of it and just inserting herself into other people's drama and like using their storylines. Instead of having the spotlight be on her family.
Yeah, okay, I get that. But at the same time, like, I think she's pretty excited to kind of like throw Mauricio under the bus and finally punish him for all the years of allegations that have been lodged against them in their relationship. So
it's true. Well, actually, even us just having kind of those two different views makes a lot of sense, because to me, she seems like an entirely different person. Like, I don't know, like, she's had a complete like personality change. Like, like it's like the fight with Kathy last season like broke her, and she is just like, she's like, you know, not only does she have a new lifestyle, and she said she like stopped drinking, which is, you know, great, like, applaud her for that if that's what she felt like she wanted to do with her life, like, and she looks great. You know, we saw her working out and all of these things, so like, you know, obviously that's going to change, but like she just seems completely different. Like, we've never seen her like this agitated, this angry, this like just kind of wanting nothing to do with anyone. Like, I was really taken aback by her, like, both in appearance and in personality.
I know. And you have to wonder like what the effect is, right? Everybody's talking about how all of these celebrity breakups are happening, these like high profile breakups are happening in 2023, and everybody's just like shocked. And I have to wonder like what the impact is that like there's this like a massive amount of clarity that's coming out of these like long-term relationships that have been like hiding under the covers for like all these years, and now here we are like finally getting something like revolutionary happening. It's pretty I don't know, I'm very impressed to see that Kyle's kind of, you know, moving on with her life and is ready to do that, and is kind of like clearly gained this clarity. And I don't know if it's from like having stopped drinking and just reprioritizing things in her life, but I'm happy for her that she kind of seems to be finally like prioritizing herself, which is maybe something that you also get to do when your children are a little bit older and you don't have to like be like fully taking care of them anymore.
That's true. That's a good point. I just like, it just feels like such a drastic change from like the way that her relationship with Mauricio has always been portrayed on the show, that it kind of makes you wonder, like, did they just keep all of this off of the show strategically? Or did something really just flip in the last year and, you know, changed everything? Because even the way they show Mauricio on the show, like, they never actually show him working. Like, he's not really a part of the show, but now clearly like that's adding to Kyle's frustrations of him. So I guess maybe that's why they want to show him, and that they don't have time for each other. But yeah,
I don't know. I mean, I think sometimes the switch just does flip in your mind, and you kind of like know that you're like over that kind of like lifestyle. And I think that Kyle also sees a path forward where she doesn't need Mauricio, and I think that maybe isn't something that she's ever felt before. But maybe she just kind of got to the point where she was like tired of like his antics and kind of like everything that's going on, and she doesn't want to have to, you know, answer to him anymore. Even the whole like, oh, no more tattoos for you, right? Like, you're done. Like, I'm putting like my embargo on it. You are no longer allowed to get tattoos. And she's like, why would you think that you get to choose that for me, right? Like, maybe if I want to keep on getting tattoos, I'm going to keep on getting tattoos.
Yeah. No, for sure. That was a super telling scene.
That was a very interesting scene. She hates him.
No, like you've never felt that from her before. Like it's just
No.
like it's very different.
Yeah. And she's always been the one that's like, rar, don't go after my man, I'll claw out your eyes or whatever. Like
She's
she's
like,
always
only
been
I can go
very
after my
vocal.
man.
Exactly.
Yeah, Mauricio also, like, a lot of people were commenting that like he was straight up shocked that this was happening, and like I don't
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
don't know if it's that like he was shocked that she was bringing this up on camera or she was
Mhm.
shocked of what she was saying.
Yeah. I feel like he was shocked that she was bringing it up on camera, personally.
Yeah,
Not
someone actually even
prepared.
speculated at one point, he said like he called her Love Bean or something. They're like, were all of their conversations before more scripted, and like Love
Right.
Bean is like their safe word that they want to stop filming.
Oh, that's a really good point. That was a weird thing to call somebody. Love bean.
Yeah, so definitely
uh,
really interested to see, how this plays out. Obviously, we're going to see the end of their marriage.
mhm. Yeah, culminating with them like actually telling their children and everything. So it's definitely going to be an interesting season. I guess another relationship that seems to be on the rocks, we're finding out literally as this is airing, is PK Kemsley and Dorit Kemsley.
Yeah, I'm starting to think that there's a formula that Bravo's picked up on.
I mean, yeah, it's definitely perfect timing for all of this to kind of be happening, especially for them to be doing. So for those of you who don't know, when BravoCon aired last year, and they show this on this episode of the show, Erika was asked who she thought was the next Bravo couple to break up, and she said Dorit and PK, and everybody was stunned because nobody thought that was going to be her answer. And a lot of people who are maybe more conspiracy theorists thought that was her way of giving Dorit a storyline for this season of the show.
Yeah.
Which she's not wrong about, if that is the case.
It definitely, yeah, they went there right away.
Went there right away. And yet here we are, like having like, the headlines happening at the same time that the season premiere is airing. We're getting like different reports from different places saying they are still together, saying they're separated. But I guess we'll just have to kind of also see what plays out throughout the course of the show.
Yeah. I do have to say, I really love that the first scene of this new premiere is literally PK like double fisting chips.
Yeah.
Two different kinds of chips. And the way he's eating them was like,
well, and I can't blame him because those Lay's potato chips are so thin that you really do need quite a lot of them to feel satisfied.
Oh my god, it was so funny. But okay,
Yeah.
so Dorit, sleeper hit, or
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the right word, but just like
so.
Unexpected hit of this season. I feel like people have been
Totally.
really frustrated that she doesn't bring much for many years,
Mhm.
except for her glam squad.
Her glam squad, and occasionally she'll bring a good confessional, but for the most part, you're right. She has like fully stepped back and like just been happy to be like a friend of almost getting paid as a full-time cast member.
Yeah.
She's done so little in the last few years.
For sure. But like her confessionals were, they were delivering. Like she came to play this season.
She did. And and this is also part of what's so great about the Fox Force 5 kind of breaking up, is that, we're seeing her turn on Erika a little bit. She has kind of like always had her times when she and Kyle have kind of like, questioned their relationship and their closeness or whatever. But they do seem to be like the more consistent two of the bunch.
Mm-hmm.
But her kind of going after Erika for the Ozempic claims, or the hormone claims, I guess I should say, was pretty fun to watch.
Yes, which like, oh my gosh, like literally Erika and Kyle have aged backward. Like they look like completely different people. Like it's obviously not hormones.
I mean, it's just so like what hormone could it possibly be? Like none of the hormones historically are the hormones that make you thinner. Like
it's just it's another one of those, just like, just say it. Like if you're on it, just say it. Like it's so dangerous for like what that could make people think, like that this is an attainable thing that you can get naturally. Like so annoying. But I really love that Kyle called her out on that. The other one too is like, that's not a showman, that's a bee. Obviously it has a little bit less of a punch when I can say the full word. But we're podcast.
Yeah, exactly. We knew what you were saying. We get it. I think overall I'm excited to see how Dorit progresses this season. If she is indeed able to bring it, and if this PK Dorit storyline is more than just Erika's kind of conjuring of a storyline for Dorit, then I'm pretty impressed. I'll be interested to see how it goes on.
Yeah. I do also hope that she brings some of the energy she brought into her confessionals like in person and calls people out to their face.
Yeah, people beyond just Garcelle, because I feel like Garcelle's the only person that she's in recent past been or felt comfortable kind of going after.
That's one of the problems with Dorit. I feel like she always just like goes after the wrong person. Her and Kyle. Like Kyle consistently sides with the wrong person. And I feel like they're two people who always want to side with who they think the audience will side with. And like somehow they just like call it so wrong. So like when they align to like Diana.
Yes, I know. We thought because everybody thought that like Diana was gonna come on, she was gonna be rich. We were all gonna be like super impressed by her like connections to Elton John, and that way she was gonna be like a revelation, and she was actually the worst.
She was the absolute worst. And speaking about rich, we see, you know, we're back to seeing Sutton on our screens with Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. She's as quirky as ever. And I think the biggest bombshell to me is that we find out that she makes $300,000 a month from her divorce settlement.
So I actually knew this because I had like dug deep into like those like files and stuff, and like, you know, like Bravo, Bone Collector, all those Instagram channels and stuff, like they do the research, they put in the work. And yeah, I remember being like, wow, that is an insane amount of money. But then somebody actually tallied it up, and I have to admit, I don't do multiplication, but somebody was saying that was like $3.6 million a year. I was like, oh yeah, that's a crazy allowance. Like
that's
it just adds
but then
up
I think
fast.
She also got cash and like houses around the world and like all of these other things.
She has like part ownership of like baseball teams, she was saying, and like she obviously got like her own show her own show and her own like store, and like, you know, so she's got other stuff going on as well. But yeah, it's impressive.
It is. And I
like
also
sorry.
Go ahead.
It makes you wonder, like, what could he be earning for this to be her child's or like alimony, right? Like what's his
so
monthly income if he's giving away $300,000? Like what?
Honestly, like I can't even think about it. It's like legitimately it's absurd. But I do like that the way that she brought this about was like, I don't want to be indebted to a man. Like I want to have my own things. And like I think that's like really respectable. And as she said too, she's like, I owned that. Like she put her career on hold to help this man reach the heights that he did. So you get your money, girl.
Totally. 1,000,000% in full support.
I really hope that this is a season that like that like Sutton, Garcelle just like come and like run everything now that they're not going up against the Fox Force 5 as much.
Yeah, I was sad to see Kathy go, but I think that like the balancing of the cast now feels very good. It feels like it's going to be very conducive to kind of having like those actual like legitimate conversations and like having, you know, real storylines actually go somewhere, have progress, you know, see the growth, but also still see some fun, right? Like I think ultimately the cast is balanced enough now that they're going to be able to have some fun and not be just constantly at each other's throats like they were last season. Like it was just so bad.
Yeah,
so awful.
And I think they know, and I think they like are taking notes, and they're going to bring a different energy this season. Yeah. And then we have Miss Garcelle that we see already. You know, she starts calling some people out. She calls out Kyle on why she's not going after the people who actually went for her family.
Yes,
and then
appreciated that.
And then we have some really heartwarming and kind of sad scenes with her sons.
Yeah, I know. I was a little surprised by that. We don't often get to really see the kids in these shows. And like for us to actually be kind of getting like their perspective on like what it's like to be growing up with these moms that are like super famous and having like these like very radically different lives than like most of us are kind of experiencing when we're growing up was interesting to get to see. I thought it was also just cute that one of them was like still like carving like his girlfriend's name into like a piece of wood and just like didn't even care. I know. So typical.
I was also so shocked at just like the way that I forget their names.
Jade and Jax, I think.
Was it Jade who was like talking? Anyways, he was
probably twins.
He was like very eloquently like telling his mom how he feels. Like, for you to literally say to your mom as a 15-year-old, like, I appreciate that we're both able to like learn from, you know, our setbacks and like move forward. I didn't even say it as nice as him. He said it. I was like,
really
what?
Well.
Or he was like studying TikToks, like prepping for this moment.
Maybe. No, you're right. But it's also just funny to see like a 15-year-old talking about like wanting more independence and, you know, oh, I needed you 2 years ago when I was 13, but now that I'm 15, I'm an adult. Like, I don't need you anymore. You're like, okay.
It's like said every 15-year-old ever. Like,
literally.
You're done. You're totally grown.
Yeah. Yeah, and you just feel for Garcelle too, because like there are so many like single mothers who are in the situation where they have to work, they have to put like food on the table for their kids, and obviously Garcelle's like very well off, but she's still kind of like having that experience, and she does have to work, right? Like she does have to go to Atlanta, she does have to go away, and like that's one of the ways that she makes money for them to be able to have the lifestyle that they have, and like, you know, be able to go to college and all the stuff that they're going to want to do in life. And it's like such a double-edged sword to then also be like blamed for like you having to be away.
For sure. And it's like, even at this beach scene, like they're sitting in like a Burberry sweater, you know, it's like you want like
with
this
like
is
the
life
prettiest
that you
picnic
have.
basket. Oh my god, that picnic basket was like beautiful, like it never been used before. It was so nice.
But yeah, no, so it was nice to see Garcelle again and to see her more in like her family element. Noticeably absent from this scene, this entire episode, was Crystal.
Yeah, I know so little of Crystal. I was really, you know, I love her. I know that she's not everybody's favorite, but I do. Yeah, I think it's weird that we didn't get like kind of like any at-home scenes really with her. Like we got some minimal kind of like flashbacks to like her and Rob, but like not that much this week.
I think you saw more of Rob literally talking like that one conversation they had about Erika, where he's like, you know, it's not. She didn't steal the money, but she spent the money. And I was like, go Rob.
Right? I know. I love Rob. Hip hop Rob. Yeah. So definitely hope we get more of Crystal this year as well. I know that was another person that was a little bit on the chopping block too last season, after people just kind of like not feeling like she was like delivering enough. And then this whole like kind of like, oh, what did Sutton really say? Oh, was it dark? Was it not dark? You can't edit me. And like maybe that was just too much. And maybe that's why she's kind of like taken a little bit of a backseat for this like first episode, and kind of get into it later.
But yeah, honestly, overall, I thought that it was a really strong season premiere, especially after the incredible train wreck of last year. I think we were all kind of like holding our breath and like didn't know what to expect.
Oh yeah.
But I was pleased.
Yeah, so far so good, and excited to see Anne-Marie come in episode 6 as well. So that'll be kind of fun that we'll get a little bit of a primer with the first set of ladies, and then we'll have a newbie thrown in the bunch. So excited to see how that all goes down.
Yeah, exactly. So before we get into Southern Charm, if you are not subscribed, please go ahead and click that subscribe button. Join the Couchwife committee. Apparently we have a committee now.
We're officially forming it right now.
The Couchwives community. Let us know your thoughts. How are you feeling about Beverly Hills and about Southern Charm? We want to know your thoughts too.
Yeah. We have lots of them, so
we have a lot.
Sure, you guys do too.
So finally, Southern Charm, so much to unpack in episode 6 and 7. Episode 6 was so heartbreaking. Honestly, it was a really hard season, a really hard episode to watch, just kind of like from start to finish. There were so many different things that happened. The biggest one being that we learned that Olivia, I want to say Taylor, Olivia's brother had passed unexpectedly, and you really get to see everyone's kind of reaction and how everyone in the group just really shows up for Olivia in their own ways.
Yeah, it was emotional. You know, you felt for Olivia, you felt for Austin too. Obviously, anytime something kind of similar to this happens, we're brought back to kind of like understanding like Austin's side of his story as well, with his sister passing when he was a child. So definitely a lot heavier than I kind of, you know, expected that we would get. I didn't have any sense of how much we were really going to get of this storyline. I think that we were even wondering if like potentially it had already happened or not, depending on what we were kind of like seeing. But I am kind of glad that we've gotten to have like this little glimpse into, you know, how the group's reacting and how they've been able to be there for Olivia. I think in episode 7, they talk about how, you know, they all kind of like went to the church together for the funeral, and they all sat together so they'd be kind of like, you know, a safe space for like Olivia to look over to. And I thought that was such a sweet like moment, and like such a you know, it just goes to show that these people genuinely are friends, and you know, they're cast members, but they're obviously still like a little community in Southern Charm in Charleston as well.
Yeah, no, well, that's it. And like they each did really just show up in their own way. Like Craig like made like lasagna, gluten-free lasagna, which was so sweet, sent flowers. Shep like offered up his home. Venita and Leva like hosted the girls over. And then we did see Austin and Taylor really just kind of struggle with how they could best be there for her, like given the kind of shakiness of their relationship. And like you honestly do just kind of feel for everyone involved. But obviously our hearts go out to Olivia and her family. It's just completely devastating. What is nice, Olivia said on Sheena's podcast, and I think she also just posted about it on Instagram, is she's actually really grateful that Bravo was able to capture, you know, these moments in the past with her brother. And that she got to go to work every day and talk about this. But honestly, like that is a strong girl. Like she is incredible. Like she's still just showing up with like grace, and like even, you know, talking about it a little bit later, but even defending Taylor. Like she is a class act, honestly.
I know. And for her to have this kind of like amount of like clarity and being able to like, you know, address these like very difficult topics with, you know, what's happening between her, Austin, and Taylor in that moment, and still be able to, you know, give grace to Taylor, despite the fact that like everybody else is giving her like full permission to basically go after Taylor and Austin as much as she wants. And she's really, I think she's aware that she wants to be able to like have like legitimate sit downs with them and have like those moments where like maybe they work through this stuff, and she's like able to kind of like push it aside in the moment, because she's like, I don't want that to be what I'm doing right now. Impressive.
Yeah, no, honestly, I'm just so impressed with her. Even before this happened, like the way that she called out Austin, I feel like she's really bringing it this season, and I'm like, she's my MVP. I
she
think.
Really is. She really gets MVP for sure. I hope she gets some props at BravoCon. There was one cute little moment that I did want to talk about, just separate to the next conversation, which was the Craig cooking like a lasagna / casserole that he made.
That was the best comedic
Olivia.
relief.
That was the best comedic relief. We like 100% needed that, and like having Rodrigo there to just, you know, watch this train wreck of a meal prep and the opening of the wine bottle. It's just like getting worse and worse.
I actually wrote down, I feel like Rodrigo is the voice of like the viewer. I feel like his facial expressions always just read exactly as we're experiencing the moments. Like a lot of times he'll just look at them like, what is going on?
What is wrong with you right now?
Like he always just looks like he's so confused, not confused, but like it's like confusion but sass and like slight judgment.
as they are due. I love that. Yeah, maybe. So I think we talked about like in an episode or two ago how he might be like the next Cam, and I'm feeling like more and more like that could be his role in this, and I'm really excited for that.
Oh my god, I would love that. Because okay, another thing I actually wrote down is I feel like they're trying to make Madison the next Cam.
Ugh, I know, I hate it.
Yeah, like even just the way, and it finally clicked with me, because at first I was like, why? Like a couple episodes ago, I'm like, why is Madison the only person who got invited, like the only girl who got invited over to Whitney's house with the boys? And then also it was just a split second, but even in this most recent episode where they have the party at JT's, like it's all the guys and then Madison. I'm like, I feel like they're really trying to make her, and the Cam where she just kind of comes in, like calls other people out, stirs the drama a little bit, but like you don't get that much from her.
Plus they made her the narrator this season.
So plus her being the narrator, but I'm like, I don't think, and also like she's a lot messier. Like that's not her role.
Yeah, it is. And that's just it. It's almost like too much Madison. Like I feel like she's better in like those like small doses. And I have to admit, like I've just never forgiven Madison after she went after Danny and like kind of like outed Danny's secret about, you know, in her relationship with Shep, what she had experienced. And you know, I don't think I'll ever be able to forgive her for that, unfortunately. So should we get into to the task at hand, I guess, between Madison, Venita, Taylor, Leva, the whole group? That's the dynamic that's going on there.
So I guess some background for that. Last episode we had a scene where Venita and Leva were on the phone with Taylor to invite her over, or basically to check up if she was going to be coming to like a girls kind of like get together that they were going to have for Olivia in light of the news of her brother passing. Apparently Taylor had just kind of gone MIA and hasn't been like answering them. And there was like a little bit of a tense exchange where Venita felt that her emotions were just kind of too all over the place and maybe like she shouldn't join. To which Taylor responded, you know, like, I think Olivia should actually be with her, like her real friends who like know her and know her family. Which, you know, caused Leva to get pretty upset and say that she was really insulted. They ended up inviting her anyways because she is very near and dear to Olivia's heart. But definitely like some things are, you know, a brewing between the ladies.
Yeah, it felt like an interesting kind of like setup for Venita and Leva to kind of take this in that direction. Previously in the season, we had seen Leva, Madison, and Venita kind of have like exchanges about how they felt like Taylor was like floundering a little bit and they didn't feel like she was like in a good place and that she was kind of like being weird after the breakup, which I think we can all kind of like see and understand for ourselves as well, that is kind of where Taylor is at.
Yeah, she's definitely lost right now, to put it lightly.
Yeah, but also like I mean, totally relatable on the not answering thing. I'm sure that you know that even for me, like it's just so hard sometimes to respond to people. And also like I felt like Leva took that moment like really seriously and like felt like took it personally. And I feel like Venita and Leva were kind of primed to already kind of like be annoyed by Olivia, right? And like I just think, oh, sorry,
Taylor.
So wrong.
No, it's so true. I really like. I
every
really
time
when someone said that their name should be swapped, like you can't like unthink that.
It's done forever now. Yeah. So I feel like they were like primed to be annoyed by Taylor, and you know whatever Taylor had kind of said of like, well, I think I should just come over anyways, or oh well, I'm on my way already, or whatever, right? Like I feel like they wouldn't have loved what she was gonna bring to the table, and I think that Taylor did a fine job. I think ultimately it was up to Olivia too to decide whether or not Taylor should be there in that moment. It wasn't necessarily for Venita and Leva to kind of like decide and be like the judge and jury of whether or not Taylor gets to come to activities. And now to kind of like see that like carrying forward that like energy of like anti-Taylorness like into the next episode is like very weird to me.
Yeah. I mean, it was difficult. Like I said, like it was just in the midst of this like really heavy and like difficult episode. I was kind of taken aback when I heard Taylor say that. Like it was very kind of like aggressive in delivery. But you know, there's just no right or wrong way to go about something like this. And like you feel for kind of like everyone because like, you know, you saw Austin and Taylor especially just really struggle with like how to be there for their friend. Because you know this really horrible thing had happened and like they just want to share their support, like especially Austin, like you could see him going through it, and obviously his is additionally layered because it's very clearly bringing up like, you know, emotions of having lost his own sister. But it's, you know, like it's hard, like you don't know how to kind of navigate those things. At the end of the day, like you said, it is on Olivia, and Olivia basically said that like she was just grateful for the people who were there for her. That being said, Taylor's actions are confusing. Like, the way that she's just everything. I just find like she's another one where like she's just kind of showing a different personality, but like obviously this breakup with Shep has really like messed with her. And I don't think that she's dealing with it in weird ways, like as we'll see. So we find out she had sent, you know, nudes to Whitney, which is just like a weird
technically
retaliation.
Nudes, it was a nude.
Artful.
Like,
artful.
Nudes is different than nude. Like one or nudes.
No, it's true. It's just
it just so much more tawdry, right? When you say like nudes, like
that's very true.
They've been exchanging nudes for months and months.
It just didn't seem, I don't know, like it just didn't seem in her character. Like I don't understand why that's the retaliation that you do. I don't know. I guess I'm just like, it's hard for you to really root for her this season, especially. I also know because like I don't know if I'm like projecting it onto her, but I feel like she's gonna continue to just like, I think Olivia said this in a podcast that like Austin and her just continued on with this storyline when like Olivia was in this, you know, moments of grief. And even going from last episode to this episode, like I found it very off-putting that it's like, okay, we're, you know, at a dinner for Olivia to basically help her and like we're just making it about Taylor's nudes, and that was on both Taylor and Madison. Like both of them continued to go at it, and it's like, this is not helpful for Olivia.
Well, and Shep did say like get ahead of it, but in terms of like talking about the nudes and like bringing it out to the group and stuff, but I don't know if he necessarily meant like bring it up at the dinner table right now in front of everybody. Maybe that's what he meant, but
I just found it was like so disrespectful for Olivia from like everyone involved. It's like she even shut it down, and she like we'd mentioned earlier, she backed up Taylor, which is so incredible of her. She's like, I'm mad at her, but we're gonna deal with it on our own, and like you don't all have to like attack her. It should have been done, and they kept going because I don't know why.
Because they need a storyline, and this is the storyline, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's the part of the problem too, right? Like, and obviously we haven't seen what Olivia's experience like after this point of filming, right? So we don't know how much Austin and Taylor kind of continue to keep on coming back to this storyline, and how much they are going to be kind of like responsible for how Olivia currently feels about Taylor. But I also kind of think that part of the reason of what happens here is that you get Taylor and Austin kind of become these like outcasts who kind of like get like this like us versus them mentality, especially for somebody who like Taylor is now very much the person on the periphery of the group. And so it becomes very tempting to get that mentality of like everybody's just out to get me, so like whatever. And she just can't win. And
oh, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I just think that it's also so unfair, this like double standard that we have against Taylor. I think like, in the year of the Barbie, in the year of Britney Spears' memoir, like it's just very interesting to me that like the two women that we have like, or the two people on Bravo that we have gone after the most are Raquel and Taylor and Green now. And like, Austin and Sandoval are thriving. Austin's fully part of this group, no questions asked. He's even being forgiven a little bit more easily in the show in the current moments that we're watching. And Sandoval's got a podcast, and he's got just living his life, no problems. And it's so like we keep on saying that we're learning this like lesson, and we never learn the lesson. We continue to just go after the women every time.
No, you're so right. I actually wrote down like, are they trying to make Taylor the new Kathryn? And it was for exactly these reasons, like the way that the women, they used to with the Kathryn and Thomas scenario, they always would just like always would go after Kathryn when Thomas was like older than her and like equally involved in this relationship. And now they're kind of doing the same thing to Taylor, where they're all just going after Taylor, and like they're just kind of letting Austin be. And again, it's because they're like, well, Austin's Austin, like that's what we expect for him. Like we have these low expectations.
Exactly. So it's totally fine that he only ever meets our very low expectations. Well, and even Leva, so obviously the like, the way that Madison and Venita and Leva kind of all like pair up, they become like the witches of Eastwick to like take down Taylor in this episode, which felt like very off-putting to me. And I just felt like it was like a bit of a mean girl gang up, and I was very confused by the fact that they didn't think that like somebody could send a nude and also still be like God loving and like go to church, and like as if those are like complete opposites, that you could never do both things. I thought that was weird and mean, and I didn't like it. But also just like the fact that they are then kind of going after how the boys are perceiving Taylor, and Taylor's kind of almost getting in trouble for the fact that if she wasn't Taylor and if she was Madison, the boys would be yelling at her. And it's like, but it's not Taylor's fault that the boys treat her better than they treat Madison. Like, go after the boys. Like, why are we defaulting to her? And like, we should also get in trouble. Whitney should be in trouble too, because Whitney's the one that's like going around showing this to people.
Okay, I know, that was another thing. I'm like, is no one going to talk about the fact that people are distributing this photo?
Like just showing this around to everybody. Like Craig's seen it, Patricia's seen it, Madison's seen it. Like
like that is not okay. And like Shep weirdly is the person who has like is the most okay with this, and he's even like defending Taylor, which is really nice.
It is nice. I do think it is good that like Shep's a little bit in her corner, especially because like he knows that she can't get up against Madison. Like,
no, very very few people can. But that actually, okay, the Mean Girls gang up was weird too, because like I just didn't understand where their hatred came from. Like specifically Madison. Like Madison is like pissed. And like she's not super close to Olivia, so like I know she's like trying to ration it around like she thinks Taylor did this horrible thing, which like Taylor did not, what Taylor did to Olivia was not okay.
Yeah.
And I'm not like saying that it was.
No.
But it's just like, I don't actually buy that she cares. I think she's mad to your point. Like she feels like maybe there's a double standard, that like she got treated differently. But there's a lot of also kind of like slut shaming going on. Like,
there's a lot of slut shaming going on. It's very weird. And even then, like, it's like, well, if you are upset about the double standard, shouldn't you just be upset about the double standard and not be like, well, let's take down this person too? Like, now that I've been condemned for being a slut, like
it's a circle of like trauma
too. It's so right.
Yeah. Someone who did stick up for Taylor was also JT, but as always, he did it in the creepiest way possible.
He did. Oh my god.
He's just like, I don't know, like he stands up at the table to make it like even more dramatic, and he's like, Taylor is a good girl, and like he made a mistake, but like, her actions are like a consequence of like male actions. And I'm like, you know what?
I'll give you that one. I'll give you that. I'll give you one,
creepy.
Yeah. Especially considering you've like spent the last 2 episodes talking about how women are, what was it? It was a fish that you catch and that you keep in your boat.
Which he said that again, about Taylor. He's like, oh, I can't believe that you let that fish back out. Like I would keep her on my boat. I wouldn't let her out of the boat. And I'm like, that's not creepy.
That's not how you talk about women. And then the other one that he said was how
having buyer's remorse.
I was like, that's bad. Like, don't talk about women like that.
It was so bad.
Especially for like marriage, like buyer's anyways, whatever.
No, it was rough. Did you also catch at one point in the episode when Taylor came in and you hear, I feel like, a voice in the distance, but you very much know it's JT going, dreams do come true.
Oh god, I missed that.
I was like, oh
jeez, honey, you're clearly a little thirsty. Maybe just tone it down a little bit. You might have a chance with her, so just tone it down a little bit. But
it's weird, and I feel like it's only gonna continue this way for Taylor, and like it'll probably create like a little bit, you mentioned before, like a Tom Sandoval Raquel, like us against the world, which is only going to make both of them more annoying, and like stronger. It's just not going to end well.
No,
it's not going to end well for anyone.
It won't, unfortunately. And I don't know, I have to admit, like, I went into this episode thinking, oh, this is going to be the episode where I'm going to turn on Taylor, and the fact that like I actually, like, so much the opposite, went in like, away from more and more away from Madison and Venita, and Leva too. She's like kind of inserting herself in there. I'm just, I don't know. I guess I just feel like these people are desperate for a storyline and they want to be involved in it and they want to be able to justify their paycheck. And that's why we're getting this. And that's all the reason that they're doing this.
But especially Madison, like she literally has no reason to be this angry. I just don't understand it. And it does kind of make it seem like it's kind of for show. And I felt the same way too, but
even Venita, like what was her point of like thinking that she needed to like decide whether or not Taylor could be around Olivia? Like, you don't even have half of the story, Venita. Like, I don't understand. Like,
that's true. I just want them to, I just want Olivia to be okay. That's like
I know. And that's just it. Like,
and that's why it's like, yes, I think that it was fair that Taylor kind of like defended herself, because I think it was really not cool the way that they all just kind of like went after her and like didn't talk about Whitney for like showing it, which I think someone did call out. I think it might have been Craig.
Probably.
Yeah, Craig's
good this season.
He's gonna be really good when he's not involved in the drama. Like,
I know, and he just like lightly like taps in every once in a while. You're like, good job for you.
He's
Craig.
just like amazing comedic relief. Him and Paige, like, but yeah, like why are we? The double standard is just like is just insane. I also feel like we're going to be on such like an emotional whirlwind of like how we feel about everyone any given time.
Yes.
Just because of all of like the layered complexities with all of these.
Yeah, I think so. I feel like I'm already feeling that way with Austin, right? Like I just do feel like, I feel for him. I think that he really doesn't, and especially watching him kind of like see Rod and Olivia interact and kind of being jealous of the fact that like they're able to kind of do that, and like clearly he is having like some like blockage issues where he just can't let himself like be happy or be in a good place or feel secure in whatever relationship he wants to be in, but he knows that he wants that. He just doesn't know how he's like standing in his own way to get that.
Well, that's it. Like, especially last episode, like I really felt for Austin. Like he was really like going through it. And like, I really do think he just wanted to be there for Olivia as best he could. And it was just like, it was so hard. And I'm glad that they showed the episode. Jesus, they showed the scene with his therapist. And he said one thing that like really got me choked up when he's like, maybe my role in all of this is to help Olivia like see what time can do. And I was like,
oh, it's beautiful.
Like, I do also think deep down he's a good person, and like the scenes with his family always soften him too, because you just like love his family so much. Like they have so much trauma that this family has experienced, and him with losing his sister like probably has a lot to do with the ways that he is in relationships. And I just think he needs to like come to terms with that, because he has really let a lot of amazing, incredible women kind of like go.
Yeah, totally. Chelsea being the first one of them.
Oh, love Chelsea. And she had her baby.
Yeah, she's had her baby now. And now Danny's pregnant. There's so many. It's amazing.
They're doing amazing. But honestly, this season's amazing so far. It has everything.
It does. It really does have everything. And I think that part of the reason like why I'm enjoying Austin so much this season too is that he is giving us that vulnerability that like we need from these like people to be able to kind of like see them as like fully dimensional and whatnot. And I think maybe that's why Taylor's struggling a little bit, because she's kind of like acting out, but we're not seeing the vulnerability. We're not seeing like enough scenes of her like solo or her like explaining herself. I think that's part of what's missing on her side as well.
That's true. And I think when we do see her, like all we're really seeing is her justify her actions in ways that aren't necessarily fair, even in her confessionals. So it's not reading the same way, but
well, hopefully that'll only come with time. She can only get better.
I mean that's famous last words. I don't know. Like I said, I'm scared to say anything after what we saw with Raquel.
We'll let the season play out, then we'll judge.
But yeah, what were your guys' thoughts? Did you enjoy these past 2 episodes? Are you tuning into Beverly Hills?
Let us know how you're feeling about everything.
Until next time.